Imagine you wake up, and today could be your last day alive, not because of war, but because of your job. History wasn't just dangerous, it was working. That could kill you. Millions had no choice. Think being a soldier was history's worst job? Think again. Some people never even held a weapon, yet they died just as fast.
Meet the Roman galley rower, a man chained to a warship. If the ship sank, he sank with it.
Every single stroke kept the ship alive, but it also drained the men below deck. They rowed for hours, sometimes days, and if one man slowed down, the entire ship lost speed. Sometimes that meant everyone died.
The sea wasn't their biggest enemy, it was the chains. If the ship caught fire or started sinking, there was no escape. And yet, somehow, this still wasn't history's worst job, because somewhere else,
people were slowly working themselves to death. Deep beneath the earth, there were places where sunlight never reached, and once you entered, you might never come back. These weren't ordinary workers. Many were slaves, forced to dig until their bodies simply gave out. But the rocks weren't the real killer. Every breath filled their lungs with invisible poison.
Some miners spent years underground. By the time they finally saw daylight, many were already dying. And then came the collapses. Without warning, the ceiling could come down in seconds. If you were trapped below, nobody was coming to rescue you. You were simply forgotten. And the smallest workers often had the hardest job. Their size let them crawl where adults couldn't fit. In history, rarely remembered, but this still wasn't the worst job. You might think fresh air was free, but in some cities, even breathing could become part of the job.
Meet the ancient sewer cleaner. Every day, they climbed into places everyone else avoided.
Smell is terrible. Smell wasn't what scared experienced workers the most. Hidden inside the tunnels were invisible gases that could steal your breath in seconds.
Sometimes, the only warning was a silent lamp. When the flames suddenly faded, workers knew something was wrong.
And if one worker didn't come back, another often had to go, looking for him. In the darkness, time meant nothing. Every step could lead somewhere you couldn't escape. And yet, even this wasn't history's cruelest job, because above ground, another worker carried a burden far heavier than chains. Another worker. Then, history faced an enemy nobody could see, a disease that changed everything. Were missing. Doors stayed closed. Streets grew quieter. Fear spread faster than the disease itself. Someone still had to knock on those doors. Someone had to enter the houses everyone else avoided.
Every visit carried a risk. They couldn't know who was sick or what they might face inside. Every door hid a different story. Some families needed hope. Others simply needed someone to arrive.
They couldn't fix every problem, but they kept showing up. Even when fear filled the streets, they returned. Some jobs broke your body. This one slowly broke your mind. A heavy burden. Before they ever became the town's executioner, many first learned by assisting someone else. The hardest part wasn't the work. It was what happened after the work was over. In many places, people respected the law, but still kept their distance from those who carried it out. Every morning, the town woke up to a new day. But for him, yesterday never really ended. And yet, history still had jobs, even more unforgiving. The next one changed entire civilizations.
While cities feared the plague, another worker hunted the creatures everyone blamed. Day after day he searched basements, markets, and dark alleys, hoping tomorrow would be safer. But here's the strange part. Even after catching dozens, the city never truly felt safe.
Because history teaches us the hardest jobs weren't always the most dangerous. Sometimes they were simply the ones no one wanted. Long before modern plumbing, every city had a problem that never disappeared. Long before the rest of the city even woke up, these workers were already keeping it clean.
Most people never noticed who cleaned the city before the day began. Yet without them, streets would quickly become harder to live in. Sometimes, the most important jobs are the least celebrated. Look closely. Every civilization had people doing the jobs no one wanted. They weren't kings, they weren't generals, but without them, cities couldn't keep moving. History remembers the people who wore the crown, but it often forgets the hands that built it.
Maybe the worst job in history wasn't just one job. Maybe it was being essential and forgotten.
The next time you read about history, don't just look for the heroes, look for the people history almost erased.
Because sometimes the people who changed the world were the ones the world barely remembered. This is MindRelic.